right, hello and welcome back to the educational webinar series brought to you by WeatherWorks. My name is Nathan Wiles, lead meteorologist and assistant marketing director of the company. Today we are joined by snow expert Jon Crandall, who has been with the WeatherWorks family for over 10 years. Jon is the chief visionary of JC Grounds Management located in Danvers, Massachusetts. He currently serves as the finance chair for the CIMA Board of Directors and is an active member of BOMA, the Entrepreneurs Organization, and many other industry mastermind groups. We're also joined today by WeatherWorks' own lead meteorologist, Brad Miller, who will be helping us get an inside look into some of Jon's recent successes and how he and his team have overcome some of the challenges of COVID-19 as they prepare for the next snow season following what was rather a lean 2019 snowfall. Brad, the floor is yours.
Thank you there, Nate. I just want to welcome Jon. How you doing up there in Massachusetts?
Doing awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. This is great. A lot of folks that are going to be listening are business owners, as you are, and a lot of our clients here also with WeatherWorks, and kind of go through the same thing that you go through every season, whether it's a lean year or a good snow year. Folks are going to be really anxious to hear probably a lot of your answers and how they relate to themselves and their businesses as well. Let's start off with JC Grounds. Like Nate said, you guys have been with WeatherWorks for quite a while, and it's a year-round business, correct?
It is, yeah. Yep.
And so, of course, you do landscaping then during the summertime, and then you head into the winter season. What are the most important preparations that you do, I guess, really during the off season while you're still doing landscaping work, and kind of take us through when you get ready to set up for the upcoming winter?
Yeah, it's a loaded question. So I'd say each year, one thing that we started doing several years ago is we created this, we call it a calendar. It's our landscape and snow calendar, and it's seasonal dated initiatives is what we call them. And more or less, we look at, different times of the year and the things that repeat, every year that we don't want to kind of reinvent the process or, reinvent the wheel and those things. So we look at different items throughout the year. And for this year in particular, obviously, every year growth is a thought. And in particular, this year with COVID, we strategized around that. Do we, how aggressive do we want to get with our growth and whatnot? And started preparing our recruiting numbers and then obviously our sales numbers, like what we had to achieve in sales in order to meet our growth goals and everything else. So a lot of the preparation is just around the strategy and setting the vision. And then once we set that vision, we create the plan around it, kind of reverse engineer.
And just talking to folks over the summertime, we're still doing our forecast, and we still talk with a lot of our clientele throughout the year. And a lot of things changed, of course, with COVID. And the one answer I got a lot of was residential, I guess, landscaping work and things like on that side of the private industry really ramped up this year, but the other side was down a little bit. Can you relate to that as well?
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, we've seen that. We're friends with peers across the country that in some of the businesses are more focused on high-end residential or residential, and not just in landscape, but in other in other industries as well. And we definitely heard that. We are common sense will say that people are staying at home. They don't know how long this is gonna last, and they wanted to pour some investment into their backyards to make it a more comfortable place. So we definitely saw that from our peers, and then from our side of it, I think it was mixed, Brad. We heard some of our peers had said that they actually were having a good year from an enhancement sales standpoint, the extras from their commercial clients, and we were down a little bit. So we put a few different budgets in place when COVID hit. And fortunately, we're in a good place right now, but we are a little bit down over last year as far as what our forecast was for this year.
Yeah, I mean, and again, that's all you can probably ask. I mean, a lot of folks are struggling out there. There's no doubt about that, and we feel for everyone because we're all going through this. I mean, everyone's got families, everyone's got significant others to worry about outside of their occupation. So, you know, it's a tough you give two parts here and you take one away here, but you know, you got to try to make things balance as much as you can. And you know, hopefully things are going to, you know, start to get a little bit better here. Unfortunately, we are heading into the winter. That's going to be the other issue, and you don't know what this virus is going to have for us here. But you know, again, let's go back to where you were just talking about the COVID, and how are you now preparing for this upcoming winter? Is it going to be, obviously it's not going to be the same as it has been the last couple of years, but are there already plans in place for the upcoming snow removal and the snow season?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, we're doing our best to predict, what our expectations are for what's going to occur, what could happen with COVID. But for the most part, we are trying to carry on as usual, and just obviously being as cautionary as we can be. So we're looking at I'd say, like, one thing that we were looking at early on was what is our forecast, so to speak, for from a financial standpoint,
right,
going up into the winter and then through the winter, and then making sure that, I think, in any time of a recession, and if I think we can all admit we're in a recession right now. Unfortunately, it does sometimes.
Yeah, it could be even worse. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's I think we're artificially propped up right now, so it doesn't look it as much or feel it as much, but we are. And we're looking from a liquidity standpoint, just what are the best decisions we can make so that we have cash in the bank, and
right,
to kind of run through it. So we're doing a lot of preparations like normal, just getting our equipment ready, getting our recruiting in place. We are looking at sales and looking at, like, who we're selling to and whatnot, to make sure we're selling to the right people that are going to be able to weather through the storm, no pun intended. And that's it. I think our, right now, I was never a finance expert early on, and now that's something that's becoming a stronger and stronger.
I would say probably when you own your own business, you become one real fast.
Yeah, and out of necessity, right? You learn
right.
that as a company grows, little things make big changes. So
Sure.
So that's really what we're focused on.
And again, that's a great point, that everyone that's listening, I'm sure they have the same relationship towards that kind of financial side versus what are we going to end up doing this upcoming year? What is our limitations, or what can we do with what we have? And again, it's such a it's such a guessing game right now, and then it's just, everyone's going to have to just hopefully do the best they can. And we're at the same time as we're learning about this whole thing, we're also coping with it as everyday life, and that's the hard part about this whole thing, is holding your business, holding your job, keeping family happy and healthy and things like that. So it's just such a hard thing to continue to grasp these days, something that we never thought we'd ever have to go through. Again, on that year-round landscape part, we'll have a kind of a lighthearted part here. The biggest question we get, John, in March going into April, is, can I take my plow off yet? Not to be, it's a serious question, and we talk about it all the time here in the office, and it's a very understandable question. What's kind of a guideline for you? Now, granted, it's going to change where you are in the country, Northeast versus Midwest versus a little bit more down towards the Mid-Atlantic, but do you have kind of a guideline to what you go by each year, or I guess late winter, early spring?
I mean, I always hear people refer to it as the shoulder seasons, in the fall and the spring, and
right.
We're just watching the weather trends, and
Sure.
We're looking towards you guys for those kind of answers. We never will, we'll never put ourselves in a point of risk where we will be completely unprepared. I don't
right.
think we
well,
really,
where you live, it could snow all the way till the end of April anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we really go into full storage mode until, like,
right.
the end of, until May, sometime in May. And even then, our largest salt trucks are ready to go, and that's kind of how we phase it out. Is we'll take away, we'll take away the stuff that's closest to home first. We'll pull that
Sure.
stuff back, and then keep working our way out.
Yeah, it definitely varies, but it's a very popular question, and again, very serious question that we take here at WeatherWorks from all of our clientele when they, is the winter going to be really, and then you get that surprise storm. I mean, this past winter was a perfect example. I mean, the the forecast, the cold and the snowy part of the forecast came late March into May, and it was
Yep.
kind of supposed to be more January, February, March oriented. That's the way weather works. I mean, if we had that pattern that we had at the end of winter, early spring, in the heart of winter, it would have been a very nasty winter and a lot of snow and cold. But, those are the things that we have to deal with every day in forecasting and on your end, of course, and be prepared for that. Let's shift gears a little bit. You've written a few articles in snow business, and one in particular was in August of 2019. And you kind of discussed how you used to measure happiness and success against what others have. Kind of over time, you found that taking the measurements against yourself through points of your own life instead of others' lives kind of yielded better results. So what do you say were some of the large successes you had since you wrote that article, about a year and a half ago, or about a year ago, really?
So I'll share really quick the background of that. So that's a theory called the gap.
It's an excellent article, by the way. I didn't mean to chime in there, but it's a great article. If no one's gotten the chance to read it, go to the Snow Business, August 2019. But go ahead, sorry.
I appreciate it. So it's actually a theory called the gap, and it was originally brought up by Dan Sullivan, who's a thought leader. I've been in his course for about 8 years, called Strategic Coach. They're based out of Toronto. Unbelievable course if you want to do some learning for yourself. If anyone wants to do some learning around business and whatnot. But in any event, the theory that he had said was, and literally Dan had said this to my class. He said, you can go out and buy a 100-foot yacht, and sure enough, the guy's going to pull up next to you in the 120-foot yacht. All of a sudden, you're like, I just made this, whatever. So, Dan jokes. He said, my boat's always going to be bigger than yours. So, so the idea was like, what do you measure yourself against? You can measure yourself against someone else, and you can either feel great or you can feel not so great, depending on where that person or that company or whatever is. Or what really matters is you can measure yourself against yourself. So that's what we look at here, and it's not just, it's personally and in business. And I'd say that that's what I do on a regular basis. So I'll look at how am I showing up, how am I measuring against previous year or years. Sure. as a husband, as a father, and then as a leader here for the company. And obviously there's underlying metrics that would back up whether you're moving in the right direction or wrong direction. So that's what that article meant, and it hasn't really changed much. COVID hasn't changed that. I still I'm still measuring myself against where we were last year. So
I mean, yeah, and if you can get to that point where you were last year pre-COVID, I mean, then I would think you're probably doing pretty good considering the where we're at right now with this whole thing.
Well, keep in mind, at the end of the day, I love what I do every day. It's super, super important to me. And it's important that I really enjoy it and love it. But at the end of the day, the business is here. It's a paycheck, right? For me, just like it is for people that work here. And that's to fund my life. So fortunately for me, I love what I do. But the most important thing is in my life is my family and in my person. And then after that, my personal health. And then obviously my place of employment. So it all kind of works together, but my family side and my personal side really shouldn't have changed because of what's going on right now. I think we've got a lot of control there. And then the business side, we look at it and gauge the financial forecast the best we can and work towards that plan, and I think from a client standpoint, more important to me than whether or not we have to make money, because in order to make money, in order to fund our life and also to take care of our clients, we need to make a profit. But even more important is that we live up to what we said we're going to do for our clients. And that was when the minute this thing hit, that was one of the messages that came out of here was guys, I went through 2008 as a business, and I remember the most important thing was that we were there for our clients. And I said the same thing here.
The other crash, yep.
We have to be there. Sure, we got to come out of the winter making some money this year. We got to come out of the landscape season making some money. But more important, we have to be there for our clients. And if we have to alter things a little bit and make it feasible for them, it is what it is. We got to do it.
I just like how you your statement there, your funding of life, and again, that's kind of what we're all here for. We, just like WeatherWorks is a family of meteorologists here. Our owner Frank and CEO, he is just he is an awesome person to work for. He's very generous to his employees, and he's kept us going, you know, as much as we can here. And granted, everyone's going through the same thing, and probably the same thing on your end. I mean, you have your staff and your family, you know, and you're probably treating your staff just like you would treat your family now, and just making sure that, you know, again, that's part of their life, that they want to have a job to go to in this situation. And of course, to them, that's more normalcy than anything else, just like us here at WeatherWorks. So, you know, kudos for that, and that you can do that for your staff, and that's great to hear.
I think it's I think more so than that, just touch on that real quick, is they're doing it for me too. And I think it's like,
sure,
you know, one of our for without going down the rabbit hole of this other piece, but you know, on our mission statement, that type of thing. So we've got something called the VTO, Vision Traction Organizer, and one of our key elements on there is to succeed together. And that's, we're very fortunate to have a group of, you know, and I'm not fluffing this up at all. This is 100% real. You know, we're very, very careful and intentional that we have a group of people we want to work for and work with. And when you have, you know, at least for us, and that didn't happen overnight, but at least for us, it makes it a lot easier for things to come together, you know,
oh, sure,
especially these kind of times.
And then eventually, you know, well, hopefully everything will come out of this, you know, in the next, you know, months to a year, who knows. But, you know, and that'll even be the most rewarding part, I think, is afterwards. You can say, wow, we just got through this whole lousy thing, this whole world that's been, you know, devastated by this virus, and yet we pushed through. Our company made through it, and, you know, we're able to continue doing what we're doing, and now maybe even add extra people because of, you know, how well we've made it through this thing. So like you said, your planning, you know, when you first started, this whole thing began, that's just integral, I think, for every business to have this kind of you know, doomsday plan, which is kind of what it is right now. And now, of course, we're going into the winter, and maybe a full winter dealing with this thing, and that's, again, it could be another you know, curveball for us all to have to deal with. So so, you know, bringing weather back into the picture here, you know, take me through, you know, we haven't had a typical snowstorm in quite a while, it feels like, but let's say our WeatherWorks forecast for your area is a 4 to 8 inch snowfall. You know, maybe it ends as a period of sleet and some freezing rain. It's going to come in the morning, and it's going to be pretty much out of here by the evening. So, you know, take me just through just a quick like idea of your prep time and what you would be doing staffing wise, and kind of what you would do during the storm and then after the storm.
Sure. I mean, I'll do a little bit of a disservice to this explanation because we have a head of ops here, and he, you know, he's taken this to another level as far as the way they've got that mapped out, and I'll probably miss a few steps, but I think the big thing is again, kind of in the planning. So they you know, they look at how long the duration of the event's going to be, and then more or less, you know, prep the plan for the execution there. And before the plan's prep for execution, there's a lot of communication to the client. So we'll push out, you know, an adjusted form of your forecast, meaning it just has a forecast blended with our execution into it. That's going to go to the client, and then the production team's going to make up their more or less their game plan for the event. You know, make sure everybody's aware and on call and ready to go. I know back in the day we used to always say, how many seats are missing? You know, do we have all the seats filled? And that's, for us now, that's over 500 staff for an event. So you know, the different production people will be doing their calls to make sure that all those seats are filled, and if they're not filled, then they're troubleshooting around it, so that we're 100% ready for the event. And then you know, we execute through the event, and then we're going to do a night watch. But here now, this is definitely something that we're very fortunate to be in a place to do now. There's what we call an MOD, a manager on duty every night of the winter, so it doesn't matter if there's a storm or not. And now we also have a secondary manager for the days after the event. So we want to make sure that our people are well rested and making good decisions. So we've been able to, you know, separate some of the roles so that we can make sure that the people are making those decisions are rested. You know, so that person will take over for the day after and carry out the production and the kind of the post-storm meetings and whatnot. You know, that occur. So that's a very summarized version, but my ops director could better speak to that. So
That's okay. Yeah, it's and when we do our forecast, we're when our forecasts are of course always right, we never have an issue with that. But of course the forecast changes. It changes from the start of the storm to the end of the storm, and that's where we pride ourselves in on our forecasting. That we can tell everyone, hey, this rain's going to change to snow a little bit faster than we first thought, or we're going to stay snow here an extra hour or two, so be prepared for an extra inch or two of snow. And that's again where we come in, that we can relate that to our clientele and tell them and reach out to them and say, hey, we got an updated forecast coming out. Things have changed quite a bit here with the storm, and we're going to let you know what has changed. And again, we have that 24/7 consultation that we also pride ourselves in, where you can call us and we take care of any kind of changes, or everything's fine, then hey, yeah, the storm's still going to end between 8 and 10 p.m. You can start your cleanup then. And again, it's communication between ourselves and everyone else that we have our forecast for, and again, that's what we pride ourselves in, and I think that is something that our entire clientele enjoys. And yes, there's frustration on both ends, because there's nothing worse than you come in to the forecast that you had from yesterday and it's completely out the window, and that's what you have to do. You can't sit on that forecast and say, well, I think it's going to be okay, I think it's going to hold on. No, if it's looking bad, let them know, let everyone know that things have changed. And I think that's where we like to really make sure we communicate with everyone. And again, the forecast changes, and I'm sure you've had that happen a lot.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, just pivoting on it, we typically will say, you more or less plan for the worst and hope for the best here. That's what that's our kind of a motto for events.
And those things.
If I walk through a hall and I hear somebody say, yeah, I think they said 6 inches, but it's looking to me like, I'm watching the models, I think it might go 4 or 5, or it's looking like it's going to be 10 hours, but I think it could go 7. I always just mentally prepare for the 10.
Sure. I mean, that's that's where we come in, and weather does not ever go the way it's planned. If it did, then we'd send out a forecast and leave then for the day. But we know there's always going to be issues with some changeover times, or maybe things just don't pan out, or the heaviest band of snow shifts one way or the other, and you miss out on a couple inches. So then we have the frustration of refreeze and things like that. And I've had several times, and I think every meteorologist here at WeatherWorks has had somebody call us to say, my truck says it's 35 degrees, but I'm watching the parking lot glaze over, and it's because the temperature's taken at 10 meters above the ground, but right at that surface, even if you have a little snow on the ground, it'll freeze up. And
Sure.
That's kind of an explainer that a lot of folks have, it's probably 32 right on the ground, so that refreeze is probably occurring even though it's above freezing on your truck.
Right. Yeah, 100%. Yep. No, it's being aware of all of that and having the tools, and you got WeatherWorks absolutely has been a great partner for us. So agreed.
We couldn't do it with the folks that we have and we forecast for, and we appreciate everything that they do for us on their end too. And it's a long winter for everyone. We understand that, and we try to get through it the best we can and forecast as best we can and keep everyone updated when things do change. So moving along here, we have SIMA coming up, John, and it's going to be fully virtual. It's coming up on August 26th through the 28th. Quick update on us: we'll be at level 4, table number 10, if you are going to virtually hang out with us. But tell us a little bit about the SIMA this upcoming year. I know you're on the board there, and what's going to be the difference, you think, this year, being virtual, where we really like to be face to face to meet our clients and everyone and say hi to them. How's your year been? But this year, of course, is going to be a little bit different.
Yeah, I think so. A couple things I'll say is, the team did an awesome job. We talk about pivoting. So when I look at the different businesses, like obviously the events businesses, the restaurants, hotels, all those kind of businesses, definitely feeling it more so than companies like ours. And we're very fortunate to not be. But Simon did an amazing job. The whole leadership team. This has nothing to do with the board. I mean, the board's there as more of an advisory role. More as like just a role kind of overseeing and whatnot. But the SIMA staff, the professional staff, did an amazing job putting together some alternative platforms. And I jumped on a few of a few of them that they had on, they're advertising on LinkedIn and whatnot. And the platforms, I think it's excellent. I was able to easily communicate. It's similar to this where, you can see each other obviously and jump on different tables. But, I think I don't want to state the cost because I don't remember it exactly, but I think I know the number, but I don't want to say it in case I'm wrong. But I do know it's obviously less of a time investment. You don't have to fly out. You don't need the plane fare. This is the cheapest year to do it. And
Sure.
What I said to you earlier before we jumped on the official call was every year I've gone, I've taken something out of Simon that's, tenfold plus paid for itself, the ROI. So I think people are crazy not to join this year because it's so inexpensive and you can still jump on and do the peer-to-peer, and go to the vendors like WeatherWorks and the other vendors. You sit at the booth and you talk virtually for a couple of minutes and
sure.
You're going to pick something up.
And it's almost like, this is like the new norm, if you will. I mean, you see it on TV every day. There's no more, the news, the anchors in the same. Some are home, some are in the studio. Same thing with the talk shows right now, and everyone's in different parts, and it's working. People are figuring out how to do this, and it's becoming more of a norm. I can't even tell you how many, Zoom meetings we've had now at WeatherWorks since this whole thing began, with everyone been at home. And like Nate said earlier, we're kind of phasing everyone back slowly, but there won't be a part where I think we're all in office like we used to be. And again, we rely on that Zoom meeting or the Google Chat and the Google Hangout where we discuss storms and the upcoming storm just last week with the tropical system. We ought to be on the same page as we do our forecast, and we go through that every single day, even a severe weather threat. Or in the wintertime, of course, we'll be doing that with the winter storm. So Simon could very well benefit from this, and this could be a whole new of course you want to meet everyone, you want to see everyone, but this year it could be different. It could be very beneficial to where, like you said, more people enjoy it because they don't have to travel. And there you go. You got a lot more attendees.
Yeah, I think in our team, we've got over 7 or 8. If they're not already signed up, they're signing up, but I know we've got like at least 6 or 7 signed up already.
Yeah.
And so yeah, why not jump in and learn something?
Is there a site they can go to? Right, sorry to cut you off. Is there a site they can go to right now though, or when they're done with the meeting here, or the webinar?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact URL, but if you Google this, Simon Symposium,
okay,
just register.
Right.
But I'd say like the thing that's really let's just say this pandemic, right? So when this was happening, started out happening, you mentioned, or you guys had introduced me and mentioned a few of the groups I'm involved with. I was on the phone regularly, still am on a couple of these different groups, but my EO forum, that's a worldwide group. And I was talking to people in Italy when the pandemic had hit Italy.
Wow.
And was talking to what was happening in the shutdown before anything in the U.S. shut down.
Right, and that was weeks before we had the worst of it. But yeah, they were going through the hell over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I had heard that open air construction was going to stay open. It stayed open in Italy, and then that morphed into talking to a few of my peers across the country that were going through the shutdown before Massachusetts did. And I guess what I'm getting at here is, creating these relationships. If I can teach one thing to my kids, it's communication and relationships. If you're able to have good communication, create strong relationships, and be kind of like, that type of person that's referred to as like a connector, which by the way, I know this might sound strange because I'm on a webinar right now, but when I was younger and in, elementary school, I wasn't the popular person by any means. I was the shy person. And now I'm definitely more of the, I'd say more of a connector personality. But my point is the more the relationships you can create, or we can all create, the stronger we are, because it makes us so much, it gives us so much more information and sharing, peer-to-peer sharing. And that's what you can get out of this. If you jump into Cymer and you jump around to those different tables and meet the different vendors and the different peers, you create that network,
And
so
we're gonna have Nate'll be one of the WeatherWorks meteorologists at Simon, and of course Kevin Hopler and Rob Reel will be joining in too. But we'll be represented from here at WeatherWorks, that's for sure. And like you said, it's just it's such a challenge, this whole thing, and we're glad that you're doing as well as you can, and I hope everyone that's listening is doing the best they can, because that's all you can ask right now, and hope that we come out of this thing and you make the right decisions, and if you don't, you learn from it, and that's all you can do with this whole thing, because I think it's a guessing game. Like I said, we're all going through this the first time, and it's a tough thing to balance right now between life and work, and this horrible pandemic, like you said, that's affecting basically the whole world. So other than that, I mean, you got anything you want to add there, John, or anything that you want to talk about?
No, I could talk for hours on it. So I'm sure people don't want to listen to that, but I very much appreciate. And I'm honored to be asked, and I thank you guys for the opportunity to share a little bit. And I always do say, kind of hinging on what I just said about creating the peer-to-peer network and whatnot. I say completely sincerely, if anybody ever has any questions, relatively speaking, in my general area, we're a bit bigger of a company, but I started with $500 in my pocket, and I was mowing the lawns myself and plowing the driveways myself.
Wow.
And now I've got peers that are still in the tens of thousands range, and I got other peers that are in the tens to hundreds of millions range. But I'm an open book, and I'm open to a call or an email if anybody ever has any questions. I'd love to give back wherever I can. So just thank you guys for the opportunity.
No, we thank you so very much. I mean, I think that's the backbone of a good business these days, and any business really is just a strong work ethic, and we have that here at WeatherWorks, and I think that is the reason why businesses today can survive through this whole thing, and just keep on doing what you're doing, and hopefully things work out in the end, and we're, again, like you said, all in this together, and hopefully we'll all learn from this and get through it. But again, we want to thank you very much, John, for joining us on this webinar, and great stuff here. Nate's going to join us, I think, here again. See if there may be some questions for you, John. We had a lot of folks listening, so I think Nate, you there now?
Yeah, I'm here now, and yeah, certainly as John mentioned, always feel free to contact. I think his email's available on his company website, so obviously pass any questions on to him, or even us if you have any weather-related questions. But John, I just want to say it has been a pleasure listening to you and gaining more insight on your operations and how you continue to persevere despite facing great challenges year over year. We certainly hope that our audience has been able to capture some of your strengths and is able to carry some of this information with them as they continue to prepare for the ever-changing world in which we live in. So certainly we look forward to seeing those who are attending the virtual SIMA Symposium next week. Again, WeatherWorks will be on level floor, table 10. So please feel free to stop by. And John, I believe you also have prepared a tech talk as well for those who will be attending. So so obviously, and those that are anxiously awaiting a winter forecast, our first winter preview is set to debut later this week. So again, I just want to extend one final thank you to you, John, and Brad as well, and also to our audience. We'll be sharing a copy of this video or webinar with all who registered, and as always, feel free to contact us with any questions at our website, weatherworksinc.com, or our 24/7 phone line, 908-850-8600. So we're planning to have another webinar next month, so we hope to see you guys then, and enjoy the rest of your day. And John, Brad, thank you guys again.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thanks again, John.